The silence of space was endless, stretching in all directions like a vast, dark ocean. Small specks of light blinked far away, stars that had been burning for millions of years, unaware of the tiny human life drifting alone among them. Captain Marcus Hale sat in the cockpit of his small research shuttle, staring at the controls and trying to ignore the steady beeping warning him that something was seriously wrong. The main engine had failed, and the backup was fluctuating, barely keeping the shuttle in orbit above a strange, uncharted planet. Marcus had been part of an exploration team sent to map regions of the galaxy that had never been visited before. Humanity had always been curious, reaching out to stars and planets that were little more than dots in a telescope. It was thrilling, dangerous, and sometimes terrifying work. He had trained for years, enduring simulations, exercises, and long stretches away from Earth, but nothing in his training had prepared him for the reality of being utterly alone. Watching the systems in his ship fail one by one, the planet below was dark and mysterious. Thick clouds of swirling green and purple covered the surface, and lightning flashed occasionally in the distance. Marcus had studied it for a few hours before the crash, noting its strange energy readings, unusual weather patterns, and signs that something or someone might live there. Now, though, he had no time to marvel at its beauty or uniqueness. His only concern was survival. The shuttle's life support system was beginning to falter, and oxygen levels were dropping steadily. He tried to communicate with the exploration fleet he had come from, sending distress signals, emergency codes, even repeated calls in every known frequency used by human ships. Nothing came back. Silence answered him. That only made the isolation worse. In those moments, Marcus realized how fragile life could be. One wrong calculation, one mechanical failure, and everything could end not just for him, but for any human exploring beyond their homeworld. The shuttle began to drift closer to the planet's atmosphere, pulled by gravity. Marcus knew a crash landing was inevitable if he couldn't fix the engine, but there was little he could do. He tried to remain calm, reminding himself of everything he had learned, trying not to panic. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he manipulated the controls, attempting one last maneuver to slow the descent. The shuttle shook violently. Alarms screamed in his ears. And then, with a violent jolt, the craft slammed into the planet's surface. Marcus gritted his teeth as pain shot through his arm. The lights flickered, and the world outside became a blur of green and violet clouds, jagged rocks, and strange glowing plants. He had survived, but barely. As the dust settled, Marcus forced himself to assess the damage. The shuttle was ruined, twisted metal and broken screens everywhere. His communicator was shattered, leaving only faint static. His oxygen was low, his rations were limited, and he had no way to move the shuttle. For a moment he felt the weight of hopelessness pressing down on him. He was truly alone, in an alien world, with no way of knowing if anyone would ever find him. He sat back, taking a deep breath, trying to calm the panic rising inside him. He had to survive. That was the only thought keeping him from collapsing entirely. The planet was strange, but not immediately hostile. The air was breathable for humans, though it carried a strange metallic taste. The surface beneath his feet was soft, almost like moss, glowing faintly with bioluminescent light. Giant plants stretched toward the sky, their leaves shimmering with colors Marcus had never seen before. He took a cautious step forward, his training kicking in. Every movement had to be measured, every sound had to be considered. In this place, anything could be dangerous. Predators could be hiding, or the weather could change suddenly and sweep him away. Still, there was hope. Somewhere out there, maybe there were other beings who could help him. Maybe he wasn't completely alone. He started walking toward what appeared to be higher ground, hoping to get a better view of the landscape and perhaps spot a way off the planet. As he moved, he noticed something strange shapes moving in the shadows. At first he thought it was his imagination, a trick of the strange lights and glowing plants. But the shapes began to take form, figures that walked upright, with glowing eyes and smooth, shiny skin that reflected the light around them. Marcus froze, his heart hammering in his chest. He had no idea whether they were dangerous, curious, or friendly. He raised his hands slowly, showing he meant no harm. The creatures paused, their eyes locked on him. For several long moments, nothing happened. The silence was thick, almost unbearable. Then, to his surprise, one of the beings stepped forward. It moved slowly, deliberately, as if assessing Marcus with care. Marcus tried to speak, but his voice caught in his throat. He wanted to ask them who they were, if they were dangerous, if they could help him, but the words didn't come. The being tilted its head, watching him, then extended a limb, not a hand as humans had, but something similar, ending in soft, flexible tendrils. It was an invitation, or a gesture of peace. Marcus realized that, somehow, these creatures were offering him help. Relief and disbelief warred inside him. Could he trust them? He had no choice. Survival demanded it. The creature led him away from the crash site, guiding him through strange forests and glowing plains. Marcus had never seen anything like this world. Plants seemed to hum with energy. Strange insects floated through the air, and the ground pulsed faintly under his feet. He stumbled occasionally, his injuries slowing him, but the creatures were patient, guiding him carefully. They didn't speak in a way he could understand, but their intentions were clear. He wasn't being hunted. He wasn't in danger. They were helping him. That thought was almost impossible to process. Humanity had always feared unknown worlds and unknown species, but here, on a distant planet no human had ever seen, he was not only safe, he was being cared for. After several hours, or perhaps days, time seemed to pass differently. Here the creatures stopped at a settlement of some kind. It was simple, made of smooth, organic materials that seemed alive, glowing faintly in the dim light. Marcus was guided inside, and to his astonishment, he found others like him, not humans, but beings with curiosity and kindness in their eyes. They offered him food, water, and a place to rest. The food was unlike anything he had tasted, rich in nutrients and strangely satisfying. He drank water that sparkled faintly and seemed to fill him with energy. Slowly, his fear began to melt, replaced by wonder. He had expected hostility, danger, maybe even death. Instead, he had found something entirely unexpected: care, compassion, and a chance to survive. As he rested, Marcus thought about the implications. Humans had always assumed that in space, survival was the only law. Aliens were often imagined as hostile, unpredictable, or merciless, but these beings had acted differently. They had risked their safety to help someone they had never met. They had chosen kindness over fear. The thought was humbling. He realized that what he had learned about exploration, courage, and survival was only part of the picture. True bravery, true humanity, or perhaps true sentience was measured not just in skill or intelligence, but in the choice to help others, even when there was no reason to. As night fell over the alien landscape, Marcus looked up at the strange sky. 2 moons glowed softly, and stars twinkled in patterns that he could not name. Somewhere, far away, humans were probably searching for him, but for now, he was safe. For the first time since the crash, he allowed himself to relax, to sleep, and to dream not of home, but of the incredible beings who had chosen to help him when he was alone, lost, and in danger. And so, the story of one human, stranded on a distant planet, begins not with fear or despair, but with the quiet, extraordinary courage of others. Unseen and unheard by the rest of the galaxy, a small act of compassion had already set the stage for something far greater. What started as a simple rescue would soon ripple outward in ways that no one, human or alien, could yet imagine. Marcus woke slowly to the soft glow of the alien settlement. Light filtered through walls that seemed alive, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. His body felt stronger than the day before, the aches from the crash dulled by rest and the mysterious nourishment he had been given. Around him, the strange beings moved gracefully, tending to their homes and each other, yet always keeping a careful eye on him. They didn't speak in words humans could understand, but every glance, every gesture carried meaning. They were watching over him, and they meant no harm. He sat up and tried to take in his surroundings. The settlement was unlike anything he had ever seen. Structures were tall and smooth, organic in shape, as if grown from the ground rather than built. They shimmered faintly in the dim light, changing color as if breathing. Paths of glowing stones wound between the buildings, and everywhere, plants seemed to hum softly, sending ripples of light across their leaves. It was breathtaking and terrifying. Marcus had seen alien worlds on video, read reports, but being here was something entirely different. He was no longer looking at a screen or reading words on a page. He was here, surrounded by a civilization that was completely unknown, yet alive and welcoming. One of the beings approached him. It was taller than the others, its skin reflecting soft colors that shifted with its mood. It held out a tendril-like hand, the tips glowing faintly. Marcus hesitated, unsure if he should take it. The being lowered itself slightly, as if bowing, and repeated the gesture. He realized it was offering guidance, not harm. With a deep breath, Marcus reached out. As soon as his hand made contact, a warm, tingling sensation spread through his arm. The being gently pulled him to his feet, guiding him toward what looked like a central hall of the settlement. Inside, the room was vast and filled with strange machines that seemed to be alive. Panels of light glowed softly, responding to movement. Marcus noticed that the beings interacted with the machines as if they were part of themselves, adjusting them with tendrils and gestures. One of the beings placed a hand near his chest, and he felt a wave of calm wash over him. It was not mind control, he realized, but a method of communication showing understanding, reassurance, and even kindness. He nodded slowly, trying to convey his gratitude. They seemed to recognize it. Time passed in a blur. Marcus ate food that was unlike anything he had ever tasted. It was solid, yet soft, glowing faintly, filling him with energy that seemed to heal his injuries. The taste was unusual, a mixture of sweetness and minerals, yet comforting. The beings watched him carefully, offering more when he reached for it. He tried to communicate with them, speaking words in different languages, using gestures, but none worked. Yet they understood him in ways he could not explain. He realized that their understanding went beyond language. They could feel intentions, sense emotions, and respond to them as he recovered. Marcus began to explore the settlement cautiously. The beings allowed him to wander always nearby, ensuring he didn't get lost or hurt. Everywhere he looked, the world was vibrant and alive. Plants glowed in shades of green, blue, and violet, and the ground pulsed faintly beneath his feet. Small creatures flitted through the air, resembling insects but larger and brighter, and the beings seemed to coexist with them in harmony. He felt a strange sense of peace here, despite the danger of being stranded so far from home. One day, or what he assumed was a day, since the concept of time here was different, Marcus noticed movement at the edge of the settlement. Two smaller beings were carrying something delicate. As they approached, he saw it was another human, a young woman, unconscious, wearing a tattered spacesuit. His heart leaped. Humanity was here. She was real. He ran forward, calling out her name, but she didn't respond. The beings immediately took him back gently, preventing him from touching her. They guided him to a small room filled with glowing liquid and soft instruments that wrapped gently around her body. Marcus watched as the beings worked together in harmony, each movement precise and careful. Their methods were unfamiliar, yet effective. Slowly, the woman stirred, blinking at the strange when her eyes met Marcus's. Relief and gratitude filled her expression. She tried to speak, but her voice was hoarse. Marcus quickly explained where they were and how she had been found. As she recovered, the beings allowed Marcus and the woman, her name was Erin, to spend more time together, always nearby, always vigilant. Erin had been separated from her ship during a reconnaissance mission, her crew assuming she was lost forever. Now, here she was, alive and safe, thanks to these strange creatures. Marcus marveled at the coincidence, but the beings seemed to shrug off the idea of luck or chance. To them, saving a life was just what one did, without expectation of reward or recognition. Over the following days, Marcus learned more about the beings. He began giving them names for ease of reference, though he knew these were human inventions. The tour guide he had first encountered he called Lumi for the light that seemed to radiate from it. The other beings, he realized, worked together in a community of trust, each playing a role in the care and protection of life. There was no violence, no greed, no argument, only cooperation and focus on the well-being of those in their care. Marcus couldn't help but compare it to humanity. Earth had great cities, amazing technology, and advanced societies, yet here was a species that achieved harmony without war, without competition. Communication remained difficult, but Marcus discovered small ways to connect. He would draw pictures in the glowing dust on the floors, showing ideas or simple messages. He would mimic their gestures, and gradually, they would respond in ways that indicated understanding. Erin learned quickly and the two of them began to feel less like prisoners and more like guests in a world completely unlike their own. Yet, even with the comfort and safety, both of them knew they could not stay forever. Humanity would be looking for them, and sooner or later, they needed a way to reach out. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the glowing forests, Marcus sat with Lumi and the other beings. He tried again to communicate, using gestures and drawings, explaining that humans were searching for them and that they needed help to send a signal. For a long time, Lumi hesitated. There seemed to be some kind of tension among the beings, a silent debate Marcus could not follow. Finally, Lumi extended a hand and touched a small device that Marcus recognized as part of his shuttle's emergency beacon, which had been retrieved during the crash. With careful movements and the help of the others, they repaired it, connecting it to a strange energy source that hummed with power. When Marcus activated the transmitter, a signal shot out into space. It was weak, but it carried enough information for human ships to detect. The beings watched silently as the pulse traveled into the void. Marcus felt a wave of gratitude so strong that words could not express it. They had risked their safety to help humans, a species they barely knew. The thought humbled him. He realized that in the vastness of space, survival depended not only on technology or strength, but also on kindness. These beings had shown him that compassion could exist even in the most alien places, and that sometimes, saving a single life could mean far more than anyone imagined. As the night deepened, Marcus and Erin lay under the glowing trees, watching the strange stars above. They talked in whispers, sharing memories of Earth, of their families, and of the lives they hoped to return to. At the same time, they watched the beings around them, marveling at how effortlessly they cared for each other and for them. There was a lesson in this world. Marcus realized a lesson about trust, empathy, and courage. These creatures had done what humans often struggle to do. They had chosen to help, not because they had to, not because it benefited them, but simply because it was the right thing to do in that quiet, glowing world. Marcus felt a connection not only to Erin and to the beings who had saved them, but to the larger universe. He understood, more clearly than ever, that life itself, no matter where it came from, was valuable. And in that understanding he found hope. Hope that humanity, when it learned of their rescue, would respond not with fear or violence but with gratitude and care. Hope that small acts of kindness, even by strangers, could ripple outward and change the course of entire civilizations. The night passed slowly, filled with a sense of calm and wonder. For Marcus and Erin, the alien settlement was no longer a strange, intimidating place. It was a sanctuary, a reminder that even in the most dangerous corners of the galaxy there were beings willing to help, to heal, and to protect. And somewhere, Far above them, their signal had begun its journey across space, a tiny beacon carrying the story of survival, courage, and the extraordinary generosity of strangers. The signal had traveled far, passing through the cold darkness of space, a tiny pulse carrying the story of two humans lost on a distant planet, back on the human exploration fleet, orbiting a nearby star system. Alarms flashed and lights blinked as communications officers detected an unusual signal. It was weak, fragmented, and unlike any standard distress call. The ship's sensors picked up the faint energy patterns, and the officers scrambled to analyze them. Commander Rachel Lee, a veteran of interstellar missions, leaned over the console, her brow furrowed in concentration. She had seen countless anomalies in her career, strange cosmic phenomena, uncharted asteroids, unexpected energy readings, but this was different. The signal had patterns that suggested intelligence, but it was not coming from a human vessel alone. Something, or someone, had intervened. Commander, one of her officers said, pointing to the readings. It's definitely from a human frequency, but it's being relayed through something else, something alien. I can't identify the source. Rachel's heart skipped a beat. She had trained for situations like this, but the reality was always more jarring. Prepare a team, she said firmly. We need to investigate. This could be a rescue, or something we don't fully understand. Either way, we can't ignore it. Meanwhile, on the planet below, Marcus and Erin were unaware that their small signal had already reached human eyes. They had grown accustomed to the rhythm of life in the alien settlement. Days blended into nights as the beings around them continued their quiet routines, tending to the glowing plants, nurturing the small creatures, and ensuring the humans remained safe. Marcus often marveled at their efficiency and care. Every movement seemed deliberate, every action purposeful. There was no waste, no chaos, no aggression, only harmony. Erin, now fully awake and able to move without pain, walked alongside Marcus as they explored more of the settlement. It's incredible, she said softly, looking at a large tree that pulsed with light. It's like the whole place is alive. Marcus nodded. I know, and it's more than just alive. They understand us in ways we can't even explain. I've never seen anything like it. Their conversation was interrupted by Lumi, the tall being who had first helped Marcus. Lumi gestured for them to follow and led them to a central chamber. In the middle of the room was a large device, glowing softly, humming with energy. Marcus recognized it immediately as the repaired transmitter, still active. They want us to see this, Marcus whispered. Erin approached the device carefully. She could feel the energy radiating from it, subtle yet powerful. Marcus reached out and touched it, and in that moment, he felt a surge of hope. The signal was active. Somewhere, far away, humans were receiving it. He could almost imagine the fleet turning toward this planet, responding to their call. Back on the human fleet, preparations were already underway. Rachel Lee had ordered a thorough scan of the star system, focusing on the source of the alien relay. The readings were complex, filled with energy signatures that did not match anything in human databases. We need to be ready for anything, Rachel said to her crew. This is uncharted territory. It could be a trap, a misunderstanding, or it could be an opportunity. But one thing is certain, we can't leave anyone behind. Engineers worked tirelessly, adjusting communication arrays and preparing long-range sensors. Pilots ran simulations, plotting courses through asteroid fields and energy storms. Medical teams prepared for potential injuries, and diplomats studied alien communication protocols. Every part of the fleet was on high alert, focused entirely on the unknown signal. Meanwhile, Marcus and Erin continued to learn from the beings around them. They discovered that the aliens had a method of sensing intentions, not just thoughts, and that their understanding of life was deeply interconnected. Every plant, creature, and individual seemed to exist in a balance, each aware of the other's needs. Marcus realized that this was a form of intelligence far beyond human understanding, a society built on empathy and cooperation, rather than competition and survival of the fittest. One evening, as the twin moons rose, Marcus and Erin sat on a hill overlooking the settlement. The sky was alive with glowing clouds, streaks of color moving like rivers of light. Do you think they'll come for us? Erin asked quietly. Marcus nodded. I do. The signal has been sent. Humanity will respond. I just hope they understand that these beings helped us, that we're not here alone. The next day, the alien beings guided Marcus and Erin to a high plateau where the horizon stretched endlessly. From there, Marcus could see the faint glimmer of movement far above the planet's surface. At first he thought it was part of the natural light of the atmosphere, but then he realized it was something else entirely. Human ships, small at first, then more, appeared as tiny points of light, moving toward the planet. His heart leapt. Humanity had received the signal, and they were coming. Lumi and the others watched quietly, their expressions unreadable but calm. They had acted out of instinct, helping these humans without expectation of reward or recognition. Now, they observed the arrival of the fleet without fear, as if they knew that the humans would honor their actions. That as the fleet entered orbit, Marcus and Erin could see the vastness of its ships of every size and design. Medical vessels, transport ships, and heavily armed escorts. The human response was more than he had ever imagined. It was as if the lives of these two individuals had summoned an entire force, a testament to the value of compassion and courage, Commander. Rachel Lee's voice came over the fleet's communication system. This is Commander Lee of the Earth Exploration Fleet. We have received your signal. Stand by for contact. We come in peace. The aliens remained still, observing. Marcus stepped forward, raising his hands in a gesture of reassurance. Lumi extended a tendril, touching Marcus's arm lightly, as if acknowledging the human's approach. It was a moment of profound understanding. Two civilizations, meeting because of a small act of kindness, ready to build trust. Landing parties were organized carefully. Drones scanned the area for safety, ensuring that no harm would come to the humans or the aliens. The first human team touched down near the settlement, and Marcus ran to them, calling out names, waving. Erin followed, tears streaming down her face. They were finally safe, thanks to the courage and wisdom of those who had saved them. Rachel Lee stepped forward to greet them personally. You're safe now, she said. We've come to bring you home, and to thank those who helped you. Lumi and the other beings remained calm, their forms glowing softly. Marcus tried to convey the gratitude of humanity, but he realized that words would not be enough. The aliens had acted without expectation of reward. They had done what was right simply because it was right. Over the following hours, humans and aliens began to interact, carefully and respectfully. Translators and sensors attempted to decode the aliens' methods of communication, and Marcus and Erin acted as intermediaries. Slowly, a bridge was built, not just of words, but of understanding, trust, and shared purpose. As night fell again over the planet, Marcus looked up at the stars, feeling a deep sense of awe. He had been lost, alone, and injured. He had been rescued by beings entirely unlike himself, and now, through a small signal and the courage to reach out, humanity had responded in force. It was a reminder that even in the vast, dark expanse of the universe, hope and compassion could ripple outward, changing everything. The story of two humans, stranded on a distant world, had grown into something far greater, a connection between species, a demonstration of courage and care, and a promise that no one was truly alone when others were willing to help. The fleet remained in orbit, ready to assist, protect, and learn. As the first steps toward a new era of cooperation and understanding began, Marcus and Erin knew that this was only the beginning. The beings who had saved them, the humans who had responded, and the countless lives that would be touched by this encounter were all part of a larger story. It was a story of survival, yes, but also of hope, of kindness, and of the extraordinary power of choosing to help even when the world seemed vast and indifferent. And in that moment, as they looked at the vast fleet of ships, glowing against the alien sky, Marcus understood something profound. One small act of compassion, one life saved, could inspire far more than anyone ever imagined. Humanity had arrived not with anger, not with weapons first, but with understanding, respect, and the determination to honor the generosity of those who had acted when no one else could. The human fleet hung in orbit above the alien planet, vast and imposing, yet calm in its presence. Lights flickered across the hulls of the ships, reflecting on the strange glowing terrain below. Marcus and Erin stood on a ridge overlooking the settlement, the aliens around them moving gracefully, observing the newcomers. The scene was almost surreal. The advanced technology of humanity above, the harmonious simplicity of the alien world below, and the delicate bridge being formed between two very different civilizations. Commander Rachel Lee stepped carefully onto the soft ground, her boots making almost no sound on the glowing moss. She moved with confidence, yet her eyes held awe. She had seen countless wonders in her years of exploration, but nothing prepared her for this. The aliens, so unlike anything humanity had ever encountered, were neither threatening nor timid. They simply existed, moving in fluid motions, their glowing forms shifting slightly as they observed the humans. Marcus approached Lumi, the tall guide who had first helped him. Lumi's tendrils moved in a subtle, deliberate rhythm, and Marcus could feel a connection forming through their gestures. He attempted to convey gratitude, using simple drawings in the dust and slow gestures. Lumi seemed to understand, and in response, the glow along its skin shifted brighter, a sign Marcus interpreted as acknowledgement. Erin stood beside him, her hands clasped tightly, watching as the first tentative steps of interspecies communication unfolded. The human landing party spread out, careful to maintain a respectful distance from the settlement. Drones hovered silently above, scanning the area, but the aliens paid little attention, as if confident that no harm would come. Scientists and engineers marveled at the living structures, the way the plants and buildings seemed to respond to the environment, and the creatures that moved through the air like dancing lights. Every step was measured, every movement deliberate. Humanity was witnessing something extraordinary, not a civilization built on machines or aggression, but on harmony, understanding, and care. Rachel approached Marcus and Erin, speaking quietly so the aliens would not misunderstand. We need to learn as much as we can, she said. These beings helped you without expectation. We have to honor that. We need to understand them, not take advantage of them. Marcus nodded. They saved our lives. They didn't ask for anything, but they are cautious. They watch every move. We need to show them we mean no harm. Over the next hours, humanity began establishing formal contact, using a combination of gestures, images, and the aliens' subtle energy-based communication. A rough understanding was reached. The aliens had names for each other that were impossible for humans to pronounce, but they responded to simple gestures and images that Marcus and Aaron drew. Slowly, a dialogue began, not of words but of intentions, emotions, and trust. One of the human scientists, Dr. Elena Ruiz, was fascinated by the alien medical techniques. She observed as the beings used glowing liquids, gentle instruments, and what seemed like a combination of touch and energy to heal wounds. Marcus and Aaron explained how the aliens had saved them after the crash, and the humans listened, awe spreading across their faces. It's incredible, Elena said softly. They didn't just heal you. They understood what you needed, even without knowing who you were. The aliens, in turn, seemed curious about humanity's technology. They observed the ships in orbit, the sensors and the instruments, tilting their heads and extending tendrils to touch holographic displays when they were projected onto the ground. It was a silent exchange, a meeting of minds without words. Slowly, both species began to learn from each other. Humans marveled at the aliens' ability to sense needs and intentions, while the aliens studied human ingenuity, fascinated by the complex machines that could move through space and withstand the vacuum despite the excitement. Tensions remained subtle but present, that aliens were cautious, aware that humans had a history of taking resources and exerting control. Marcus and Aaron acted as intermediaries, explaining human intentions, showing that the fleet had come not to conquer or exploit, but to rescue, to observe, and to learn. Their words, gestures, and shared experiences helped build a fragile trust. Commander Rachel Lee arranged a meeting with the alien leaders, represented by Lumi and several other tall, glowing beings. The humans presented gift samples of Earth plants, simple technological tools, and a display of music and art. The aliens responded with gestures, shifting colors, and movements that conveyed appreciation. It was not the same as human communication, but Marcus and Aaron could feel the mutual respect growing. During the meeting, a subtle danger presented itself. One of the smaller drones from the fleet malfunctioned, buzzing too close to a delicate plant structure. The aliens reacted instantly, forming a barrier of glowing energy, guiding the drone away without harming it. The humans were reminded that, even in peaceful contact, care and attention were necessary. This incident became a learning moment, showing that respect for the alien environment was not optional. As the sun rose, or at least the alien equivalent of a sun, casting a soft greenish light over the landscape, Marcus reflected on how far they had come. The aliens had saved 2 humans from near certain death. Humanity had responded with an entire fleet, not as an act of force but of gratitude and protection. This chain of events, small yet profound, demonstrated something Marcus had always suspected. Kindness and courage were more powerful than fear or weapons. Aaron, watching a group of young aliens playing near glowing plants, whispered, "I never imagined anything like this. They are perfect in a way. Not perfect like humans try to be, but perfect in the way they care." Marcus nodded. It's a reminder that being alive isn't just about surviving. It's about helping others survive too. Throughout the day, humanity and the aliens continued to interact carefully. Engineers examined alien structures without touching. Scientists observed medical techniques and plant growth, and Marcus and Aaron acted as guides, helping both sides understand each other. Slowly, they began forming a pattern of cooperation. Humanity's presence was accepted not as dominance, but as partnership. The aliens had made the first move by saving 2 lives, and humanity had responded with respect and care, honoring the gift of trust. By nightfall, a celebration of sorts occurred. The aliens arranged a series of glowing symbols and lights across the settlement, a display Marcus and Aaron interpreted as a gesture of welcome and thanks. The humans responded with holographic projections of Earth, landscapes, and music. For a few hours, the 2 civilizations shared a moment of joy, wonder, and connection that transcended words. Marcus watched Lumi's form shimmer with bright patterns, and he felt a deep sense of gratitude. They had saved him and Aaron, and now humanity was showing that it could respond with honor and respect. Even with the celebration, Marcus knew the story was far from over. Humanity had arrived, but the universe was vast, and trust could be fragile. The fleet would remain in orbit, observing and assisting, but the real challenge would be maintaining this fragile peace, understanding the aliens' ways, and ensuring that no misstep turned gratitude into fear. Marcus realized that the lesson here extended far beyond their immediate rescue. The actions of the aliens and the humans were setting a precedent, a story that would be remembered for generations. That kindness and respect could create bonds stronger than fear. That one small act of compassion could ripple across civilizations. Aaron placed a hand on Marcus's shoulder. "Do you think they will ever understand how much they've done for us?" she asked quietly. Marcus smiled. "Maybe not in the way we think, but they don't need to. They acted, and that's enough. Humanity is responding, and that's what matters. They'll see the results of their actions. and maybe, in time, they'll understand the meaning of what they've witnessed. The night passed with the glow of the settlement illuminating the humans' temporary home. Marcus and Aaron slept with a sense of peace, knowing they were safe. The aliens, ever vigilant, continued their quiet routines, tending to plants, watching over the settlement, and maintaining the delicate balance that had allowed life to flourish on this strange planet. As the first light of the alien dawn broke across the horizon, Marcus felt a renewed sense of purpose. Humanity's arrival had confirmed that small acts of kindness could inspire great responses. The aliens had helped a human survive against impossible odds, and in return, an entire fleet had come not to conquer, not to take, but to honor that act. It was a lesson that Marcus knew would shape the future of human exploration, and perhaps, the way humans viewed life in the universe in that moment. The story of survival, compassion, and trust reached its highest point yet. One simple act saving a human life had created a chain reaction that connected species, civilizations, and hearts across the stars. Marcus and Aaron, standing among beings they once feared, realized that their experience was no longer just about survival. It was about understanding, cooperation, and the extraordinary power of choosing to help when no one else might. And so, as the sun rose over the glowing forests and the fleet remained poised in orbit, a new chapter began, one in which humanity and the aliens would learn from each other, honor each other, and discover that sometimes, the smallest gestures of kindness could create the largest waves in the universe. The alien settlement glowed softly under the twin moons, and the human fleet hovered silently above, a reminder of how far both species had come. Marcus and Aaron stood at the edge of the settlement, looking out over the glowing forests. The air was still, filled with the soft hum of the alien plants, the gentle flutter of strange flying creatures, and the quiet movements of the beings who had saved them. It was a moment of peace, but also of understanding, the realization that the choices of a few could affect the many. Marcus turned to Aaron, his face reflecting a mixture of awe and gratitude. "We owe everything to them," he said quietly. "They saved us when we were alone, hurt, and helpless. And now, humanity is here because they cared. They acted when no one else might have." Aaron nodded, her eyes bright with emotion. "It's amazing, isn't it? Just two people. And yet, look at what it created. An entire fleet, careful, respectful, and ready to honor them." The aliens, led by Lumi, moved gracefully toward the humans. Their forms shimmered, and the subtle colors of their skin shifted in patterns that Marcus and Aaron had come to understand as communication, emotions, intentions, and approval. Lumi extended a tendril toward Marcus, then to Aaron, in a gesture of connection. Marcus reached out, feeling the warm, tingling sensation that had first reassured him days ago. In that touch, there was no fear, no expectation, only acknowledgement and trust. The humans began establishing more structured communication with the aliens. Scientists, engineers, and linguists worked tirelessly, guided by Marcus and Aaron, using gestures, images, and energy-based signals to create a common understanding. Slowly, a shared vocabulary began to form, not words, exactly, but concepts of life, care, and mutual respect. Every interaction was careful, deliberate, and respectful, a reflection of what had brought them together in the first place. Kindness. Commander Rachel Lee organized a council in the largest chamber of the settlement, inviting representatives from both humans and aliens. Marcus and Aaron sat at the center, as translators and guides. The chamber pulsed with soft light, and the aliens arranged themselves in patterns that conveyed attention and focus. Humans, dressed in their standard uniforms, showed respect by keeping distance and moving deliberately. It was a first real meeting of minds, two species learning to understand one another in ways neither had imagined. The discussion began with the story of Marcus and Aaron's rescue. Using images and gestures, the humans explained how the aliens had found them after the crash, healed their injuries, and protected them until help could arrive. The aliens responded with flowing gestures and changes in glow, communicating that they had acted out of instinct, compassion, and a deep understanding of life's value. The humans realized that the aliens did not act for reward, recognition, or fear. They acted because helping was simply the right thing to do. Rachel spoke carefully, her voice calm and steady. "Your actions have taught us something important," she said. "Even in a universe so vast and unknown, one small act of kindness can ripple across civilizations. We have come to honor that, and to learn from you. Humanity wishes to build a partnership based on respect, not conquest." Lumi responded by extending a series of tendrils toward the humans, each movement precise and deliberate. Marcus translated as best he could, describing it as a gesture of acceptance and willingness to share knowledge. The humans understood that trust had been granted, but it was fragile, and had to be handled with care over the next several days. Humanity and the aliens worked together in ways that transformed both civilizations. Human engineers studied alien energy systems, discovering methods that could revolutionize space travel. Scientists observed alien medical techniques, learning ways to heal without invasive tools. Marcus and Aaron guided these interactions, ensuring respect for the alien environment and culture. At the same time, the aliens seemed fascinated by human creativity and ingenuity. The ships in orbit, the technology humans carried, and even simple tools were examined with curiosity. The most profound change, however, was in the understanding each side gained of the other. Humans began to see the power of empathy as a force in itself, a way of building trust and connection that technology alone could never achieve. The aliens learned that humans, though imperfect, could act with honor, respect, and gratitude when shown the right path. It was a rare alignment of values, born from a small act of courage and compassion, the rescue of two humans on a distant, dangerous planet. One morning, Marcus woke early to find Erin already awake, gazing at the horizon where the human ships glinted in the sunlight. "They're ready to leave soon," she said quietly. "But I don't think anyone wants to go just yet." "Not really." Marcus smiled. "I think you're right. We've learned so much here, and I think they've learned something too. This is bigger than just us. It's about understanding, about connection, about proving that kindness matters in the universe." As the humans prepared to depart, a ceremony was held in the settlement's central hall. Symbols of light and color, arranged by the aliens, marked the event. Marcus and Erin were at the center, representing both humanity and the individual lives that had sparked this extraordinary chain of events. Commander Rachel Lee addressed the assembly, her voice carrying across the chamber. "Today," she said, "we honor the beings who saved us. They acted without fear, without expectation, and without hesitation. And because of them, humanity has arrived not as conquerors, but as friends, students, and witnesses to their greatness. May this partnership grow, and may the lesson of compassion echo across the stars." The aliens responded in their own way, shifting colors, moving gracefully, and forming patterns that radiated warmth and trust. It was a celebration not only of survival but of connection, a bond forged in courage, respect, and shared understanding. Marcus and Erin felt tears prick their eyes as they realized the significance of what had happened. Their survival had led to an entire fleet arriving, and now, the beginning of a relationship that could change the galaxy. As the ceremony concluded, the humans prepared to board the ships. Engineers carefully scanned the alien devices and plans to ensure nothing was damaged. Scientists documented discoveries, and Marcus and Erin walked among the beings who had saved them, offering gestures of gratitude. Lumi moved beside them, its glow brighter than usual, a final acknowledgement of trust and friendship. Marcus reached out, feeling the gentle, tingling connection one last time before departure. The departure was quiet, solemn, yet filled with hope. The fleet lifted off slowly, leaving the glowing settlement behind, carrying with it not only Marcus and Erin, but the knowledge that one small act of kindness had inspired an entire civilization to respond in full. Humanity had arrived not as invaders, but as partners, ready to learn, respect, and honor the lives of those who had saved to humans when no one else could. As the fleet moved into space, Marcus looked down at the planet, its glowing forests shrinking into the distance. "We'll never forget this place," he said softly. "Or them." Erin nodded. "And I think the universe will remember too. What started as the rescue of two humans has become a story of hope, trust, and the power of compassion. Maybe one day, other civilizations will hear it and understand the lesson too." In the days that followed, communications between humanity and the aliens continued. Exchanges of knowledge, culture, and technology began, laying the foundation for a lasting partnership. Marcus and Erin became ambassadors of a unique experience, proof that the choices of individuals could create ripples that extended far beyond themselves. Even in the vastness of space, where stars seemed cold and indifferent, life had proven that compassion could shine brighter than any light. Two humans had been lost, two lives had been at risk, and yet the courage and care of strangers had set in motion events that would be remembered for generations. And as the fleet moved further into the galaxy, carrying Marcus, Erin, and the lessons of the alien planet with them, a quiet truth became clear: one life saved, one act of kindness, could inspire an entire civilization to respond with the force of hope, the power of respect, and the promise of friendship across the stars. In the end, the story was not about a crash, or about alien technology, or even about humanity's fleet. It was about choice, the decision to help, the courage to act without expectation, and the understanding that even a single act of compassion could echo across worlds, inspiring others in ways no one could predict. Marcus and Erin knew it, humanity knew it, and perhaps, far across the universe, other beings would learn it too. The settlement below remained glowing, alive, and harmonious. The aliens continued their routines, tending to the plants, the creatures, and the delicate balance of their world. But now, they also knew that other species existed beyond their planet, species capable of honor, gratitude, and care. A bond had been formed, one that would last, one that began with two humans and the courage of those who chose to help them. And so, the story concluded not with an end, but with a beginning. The beginning of understanding, the beginning of a partnership, the beginning of a legacy that would show that in a vast and sometimes lonely universe, acts of kindness could create ripples that touched entire civilizations.